Going to now move on to the next session. As you know that while we are doing simultaneous teaching, there are those pedagogical concerns that we will keep talking about. We talked about them yesterday. We were going to talk some more today on different assessments. And the point remains that there is a logistical and physical reality to conducting both. It's not just that you will go in a class and you will do an in-person class like you do all the time. You will have to be aware that there is an online transmission that's happening of this in-person class, and that will have physical and technical connotations for you. So the more first, and apart from you, how do you want to keep the voice, the angle, the background? How do you ensure you get the full screen? Leaving that aside, the first main concern that we had was that are your classrooms equipped to help you do the online transmission, as I call it, apart from your in-person teaching, and that you don't have to worry about that. So I requested Mustafa and Sarwan Abbasi from Computer Sciences to do a recce, and I am extremely thankful. They both went on to the campus to do that homework for all of us. They looked at the two blocks, C blocks and S block. They visited different classrooms. They actually came back with the number that there were so many classrooms with smart boards and smart podiums. There were so many classrooms with multimedia, and there were a lot of them that had nothing, just a white chalkboard on the wall and chairs and tables, as we already have. So what we realized was that we were dealing with three types of classrooms and technology equipment in those classrooms. Now, the challenge was, how do you use these variations to get the best result? And Mustafa and Sarwan, really, Sarwan, I'm very thankful to both of them. They did an amazing job, and they actually worked through the demo, and they realized that the ones with the smartphone and smart podium also needed some further fittings before they could be used as to transmit your in-person class online. And that was pretty worrisome in the sense that we thought that the smartboard and smart podium classes would be fully equipped. On the other hand, the multimedia, where there was multimedia in the classes, they realized that it would be imperative that there be a laptop at least in the class that could connect with online students, and multimedia would sort of beam your talk or your PowerPoint, your demo, whatever you want to do, also for in-person, but also for online students. And so there was quite a bit of variation, and IT was very, very helpful. They picked up so we have a demo that's coming up, and they will demonstrate. So Mustafa and Sarwan is going to talk about some of the pitfalls that he has seen that you'll all have to be aware of. And both of them told me what is very important is that we are sticking to some basic things. We are not going to talk about a whole many tasks out there, that you should be able to share your content, you should be able to ask question and answers, that there should be discussions in the class, and that you are able to scribble during your lecture. It turned out you cannot scribble on the chalkboard in the class or the whiteboard in the class that's on the wall. They will tell you how to scribble on your computer screen. And of course, how to do live streaming and recording at the same time. I'm very, very thankful to Mustafa. Mustafa, you are going to walk us into that classroom. You're going to demonstrate, and that is going to be a very powerful learning for all of us as to how you're going to go about it exactly. So over to you. Thank you so much, Mustafa.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you very much. Salman, please, could you please make me a co-host so I can share my screen?
Yes, sir, you are already a co-host.
Thank you. So I will going to share my screen. And it's so wonderful always to listen to Ma'am Rukhsana. She has actually covered a lot of things which I wanted to speak. So now I can use some of my minutes for my own agenda. So here we go. This is the first slide. So first thing I want to clarify one little thing, that I am from School of Life Sciences. So and I'm a PhD in medical sciences. So please do not expect the fancy computer stuff coming out from my side. So and also this will going to help all of us to see that the people who are not very much familiar with the computers, who are like trained as a hardcore scientist or in another way, how they will going to deal this new scenario and their classrooms as well. So in my presentation, I will try to be really quick, and I will stick on question and answers session. So please feel free to leave questions in the chat box or even after the faculty retreat, so that we can communicate and answer the upcoming questions. So first thing first, so there are a lot of, we have already talked about a lot about two things, the synchronous way of learning and the asynchronous way of learning. Now it is no longer a comparison anymore. It's like a comparison between banana and an apple, which one of them is better. Of course, it's depend on the circumstances and the situation out there. And based on the so much variety in the content of all these different subjects, it really depends on the teacher and his or her class, that how he will going to use, or which one of the better option he will going to use for his or her class. Or because one way of learning and teaching is better in one circumstances, and the other way of learning and teaching is better in another circumstances. So what we will going to see, I mean, in the future, we have like in-person classrooms. We are all trained for that thing. Then we were asked to go for online classes, and now we have a new stuff which is called as the blend, where we need to deal with the two types of students, particularly one sitting in person with us and the other students who are sitting at their home. So I need to talk from the teacher's side as well, because I would like to share the concerns from my side as well, while explaining that how we will going to deal with the classroom in the upcoming semester. So I was trained like for the last 2 decades how to deal with the students in person. I know how to figure out the things from the body language. I learned all these things. We are all wonderful in-person teaching. So 50% of our students will stay in the classroom. So that means we should be able to receive or achieve 50% satisfaction from our students, because 50% of the class will stay there with you in the classroom. And that will be our primary target, to at least minimum agenda that we should receive the data in a different way, as we saw earlier yesterday by our rector, shared about from the teachers and students' responses. Then after that, we were asked to go online completely to deal with our students, and we somehow learned the things which are required to stay online and to communicate with our students. And I believe that we have done a good job. Because we were not trained for those things. We are like a traditional teachers who like to talk, who like to speak, who like to move around, who like to write on the whiteboard, who like to draw things, particularly the people from sciences, physics, chemistry, biology. I mean, they all like to draw a lot. They cannot speak without writing things. And now we are having a third stuff. We were asked to go and take these two different fronts together at the same time. So spending a lot of time during the last 2 weeks in the classroom and analyzing different, and I have tried multiple times a virtual, or I must say a test run classrooms from different laboratories and from different classrooms. I came across certain important points and tips and tricks, which I will going to share with you in the upcoming slide. So here we go. Like this is like the class day, for example, for me, and I'm really excited to see my students on that day. But there are certain things I need to make a checklist before I go for my class, that I should have a spare email account, which I will going to use in the computer. If I'm using my laptop, that is fine. Then I don't need to have that thing. But if I will going to use the podium, then I need to use an email account to connect through the Zoom using the computer present in the smart classrooms. Then we should have a lecture slides. Of course, there is no other way that we can communicate with the students at the same time without having a lecture slides. And then we should have scheduled our Zoom meetings well. And as Dr. Rukhsana has mentioned already, that it is better to to schedule smaller meetings. For example, for my 45 minutes class, I'm expecting to schedule 2 meetings of 25 minutes and 25 minutes with somehow the break in between them. And then you should know that what are the minimum requirements or the Zoom settings which you should apply before having your first blended version of the class. So those tips and tricks will help you to avoid distraction, help you to stay focused in your classroom and to work better with the students present out there and the students present online. So first, I will going to share those important critical settings of the Zoom, which you must enable or disable in order to have a minimum distraction in this blended version of teaching. If you're able to see that when we go to the Zoom, we have like an option here where we use to schedule our meetings. Remember, when you click on the schedule, you will have this option to schedule your meeting. I came to know, or I found, and during the last 2 semesters, we came to know you need to be very specific in writing the name of the topic. That will help you later on because your computer is going to record and save all these things using this name. So you try to be very specific, like putting the date as well as for the classroom. So it will be easier for you in the future to deal with the content. The second thing, you should break your classroom into multiple meetings. So and the information about the meeting should be shared as well. And the third and the very important stuff is that you should enable waiting rooms. That is very important. You should not allow any students to enter into your class right away. You should enable the waiting room option so you can see their names and then you can click and allow them to enter into your classroom. And then last but not the least, you should check on the mute participant upon entry. That is the same setting the Suleiman has applied for all of us. So whenever we entered into this meeting, we got automatically mute. So we cannot make distraction for the teacher who is already teaching at that time. So these are the minimum settings which will going to help you. There are a lot more settings which can empower you, which can increase your capacity as a teacher. And all those detailed instructions were already there. We have went through like many sessions on the setting of the Zoom and the other applications, and those lectures and talks are already available on the CLT website. You just need to leave a message to Salman to get the detailed instruction that how to use the settings of the Zoom to have a better outcome out of an online session. If you click on the setting here, in the Zoom, you will move to this page. This page contains the setting related to your video, audio, and all these blah, blah things. But the real setting exists here, where you can see, if you can see the red square here, rectangle here. The real setting for the Zoom exists here. If you click at that place, it will take you to the website. And that website where you can actually change different type of settings, how to annotate, how you can use your smartboard, how can you allow having breakup rooms or not, and all these blah blah things will be there. And details of each and every setting is already discussed and explained and can be can be cached on the CLT website. It's already there. We have already talked about all those things. So I'm just trying to save time to not to go into the details of those setting. Last but not the least, that is very, very important. This is like from the teacher's side. So now I am like 5 minutes into my classroom. I have allowed my students to enter into my online session. And after that, I need to click on this lock meeting stuff. That is a most critical thing to avoid distraction during a classroom. Because if I did not click on the lock meeting, that means the student will join my class after 10 minutes or after 50 minutes, and I have to let them enter into my classroom. And that is a great distraction for all the traditional teachers like me who like to speak continuously, who are like in their different state of mind. I used to say they are like high at that time because they are communicating information with their students. They don't like to be distracted at that time. So just like click on the lock meeting, so no more student will going to enter into your class after that time. And of course, you need to share all these things with your students on the day first. So this is going to be the action on the day first. I believe that we should leave our office 10 minutes before class time. That is like a new normal for some days until unless we started developing a sense that we are all fine with the settings. And then in the team, I said 6 minutes, like about 6 minutes before the start of the class, we should be able to browse our slides over there in our laptops, that it is all set. The settings are fine. And in the next 2 minutes, we should be able to turn on the Zoom applications. The meetings were already scheduled over there. And please do not forget to hit the record button before starting your session. The first thing you need to do, actually this is my understanding, so we need to learn, we need to brainstorm, and we need to grow in our Q&A session. That I believe that I will going to talk more about their motivation, and about, I will going to greet them because I will going to see them after a long time. And then I will going to deliver a dedicated lecture, particularly to help them to feel that what they will going to see in this semester. The nitty-gritties, the terms and conditions, when they can enter into the class, when they will not be allowed to enter into the class, how they will going to raise their voice in the class, how they can ask questions, how they can communicate with me, and all the things which the students should know. I should deliver or forward that information on the very first day. So here we go. After that, I was thinking that how I will going to share my experience with you in a better way. So I have created different small little clips while having that class, and I put them together in a video. I'm not a good video editor, as Salman has said that we need time to edit the video. So whatever I can do, I put all these things together to help us understand, to see ourselves from the student side. That when it is possible for the student to understand and to listen to us carefully. There are a lot of variables we can take it as a standard to feel that whether we are teaching or communicating effectively or not. But for an online education, I think the voice quality is somehow a minimum standard. If you are communicating your voice well to your students, I think you should be able to keep the engagement with your student at a reasonable level. So first, I will going to share a video from our classroom, and you need to think that the view is from the class observer. So you are looking as a student sitting in the classroom, and whatever you are listening, whatever you are getting, the voice, it is coming from the recorded lecture. So whatever is recorded on the computer, that means that was the same thing your student is hearing sitting at their home. So here we go. I will going to click that video and start. 1, 2, 3, start. So this is the test run class for faculty retreat, and this is the version in which I am using my own personal laptop. So when I am using my own personal laptop, I will be needing stuff. Number one is that access to the multimedia, connected cable, and access to the internet. If I have these two things, that is good enough to and put your lecture on Zoom and on the live stream. Right now, I am also having one student with me remotely connected with this laptop, and I am going to test my voice quality. First, I will be talking to my students here, and I am standing like 2 to 3 feet away from my laptop right now. So the voice quality should be comfortable with the students who are sitting at home. And now away from my that the student at home is comfortably hearing my voice. Now I'm testing once again. I will be by far by the students who are sitting here. The students at home are able to see the screen. They are not able to see me, and let me try to find out whether they are able to hear my voice well or not. So this is the stage number 3. When I move more than 6 feet away from my student. Last test. I will ask my student to make a statement, make a longer statement, so that I want to test whether he or she is able to ask questions to me or not. Mr. Student, it is your time. If you want, you can ask a question to me. And you fellows, please go ahead.
सर आपकी वॉइस क्वालिटी जो सी स्टेज 1 पे जो सी थी वो बहुत अच्छी थी, उसमें मुझे क्लियर वॉइस आई है आपकी.
Okay.
और स्टेज 2 पे इतनी क्लियर नहीं थी, और स्टेज 3 पे तो कुछ समझ भी नहीं आ रहा था.
Okay, thank you very much. That's wonderful. You have served the purpose. Thank you very much. So that means if I go 6 feet away from my microphone on the laptop, I will not be able to deliver the lecture to the people at home. Okay, so that means that if I am teaching from the classroom and I just entered into my own way, of earlier days, I might going to miss the students out there. So we have a little beautiful solution of all these little problems. Number one, either stick to the place near to the microphone. I mean, this is very difficult for the teachers, I can tell you. They love to move in the classroom. They just like to move in the aisles. The other way is that you can buy like a collar mic or a wireless microphone with you, and you can move around freely if you like to have that thing. In that case, there will be no problem in dealing with that thing. Most of the laptops we are carrying, they have a very wonderful Wi-Fi on campus, so we don't need to worry about the wire related to the internet. The other wire which will connect your laptop to the multimedia, that is a must-have. So there are other options in the classroom, like the smart podium as well. We can use those as well. But I am sticking with the laptop stuff, because most of us were trained during our spring semester that how to go online, and all of the material and software we have like expert on are placed in our laptops, so we can use it. The things are a little bit more complicated for the classrooms, especially for the laboratory classrooms. I think all the people from the science department, from the life sciences department, from chemistry and physics, they're more worried about that class. That you can see the perspective of the classroom. It's a very big class. The laboratory class is supposed to be very, very big. There's a lot of noise out there, and you have like 15 students working in the laboratory, and 50 students are out there at their home at that time. So just experience that how it will go in the laboratory when you are dealing with two modes of students at the same time. So I am going to play that little small, this is just a 30-second video. So I will going to play that video. Talking from a laboratory where I have like 15 students working in the laboratory in front of me. And still there are 15 other students who are sitting at their home, and they are connected virtually with me online. I'm making this video to test the voice quality for my students who are sitting at home. Okay, Afsa and Tuba, it's your turn. Please let me know the voice quality.
Sir, your voice got fainted when you moved away from the desk.
So the conclusion of these two videos is that if you want to engage your online students, you need to understand, we need to teach ourselves again and again that whether I am able or transmit my video and my voice at the same time to those students or not. And whenever I just forget that reality, that means I will going to lose my online students, or I need to find another way to deal with the online students. I'm also very thankful to the two people from people from IT, and they bear with me, Bunny and Pervez, and of course Shahid has supported me a lot and helping me and giving me wonderful gadgets so I can try all those things. And after that, we need to find a way. I mean, for the laboratory, I must say, there are people out there who can brainstorm and came up with the better strategies that how to deal with the laboratory classroom. And the forum is open for that thing as well. What I believe is that we need to pair up the students. We need to make groups from the students, in-person student tagged with a student who is sitting, who is online. So both of them can execute an experiment at the same time. So one of the student who is in person, he or she can execute the experiment together with the student who is sitting at their home. So there are a lot of things we need to discuss and study that how we can execute a laboratory class in a best possible way. The last but not the least, this is going to be little technical stuff for all of us, that at the end of the class, we will be having an output video file. That will be like an MP4 file. It's a video file which was given to us by Zoom or my MS team, and we need to deal that what next we will going to do with that video file. So the output video file has a different sizes. It may be, if you are like having a 15-minute session, you should expect it about 200 to 300 200 to 300 megabytes. I'm sorry, the life sciences people are always talk about base pairs. So the 200 to 300 megabytes of size might be there at the end of the 15 minutes or 20 minutes video, which you have created at the end of the class. So you need to know how to trim and edit the video file. Sometimes you just state and you go like an informal. Sometimes you speak in a way which you should not, or you do not want other people to see you speaking in this way. So you should know how to trim those content out, because once that content is shared with the student, it is like a public property after that. So as a teacher, it is our responsibility to see that whatever the content we are giving to our student is perfect and it is up to the standards set by our university and as a teacher. And after that, you need to know how to put that content on the on our Moodle as well as on the YouTube. These are the associated resources you should be able to see. You should browse those individual resources. And I can tell you all of those resources were already explained. The lectures were already there on the website. You can just go and see those videos, that how you can going to process those videos, how you can trim those videos, how you will going to put those videos on the YouTube. And one of the lecture is actually created by me and put on my YouTube channel as well. So that is how I would like to conclude my understanding that blended classrooms will be more efficient if our students understand what they will about to see. They should know. We should help them to have an understanding about the upcoming semester. 50% of our classroom should be satisfied because they're in person. No excuse for the 50%. So the data which was shared earlier yesterday by our rector should at least minimum reflect the 50% satisfaction from the student side. So the rest we need to work for the other students who are not here. Then we need to know how to set up the Zoom and the nitty-gritties so that we can reduce the distraction. A recorded lecture will serve the purpose. If the student is not able to connect you, that is fine. If the bandwidth is not fine for the student, that is also comfortable from your side. You don't need to worry about whether the student is connecting or not, because you are recording that lecture, and at the end of the class, you will going to share that lecture with the students out there. And of course, it's like creating the content. You are actually leaving the legacy. So somebody just said a few days ago, and that somebody was me, that if you want universe to remember you, I mean, you should plant a tree or you should write a book. And I think now you should create a video about your knowledge and about your understanding. It will going to be a legacy and also a great contribution to the society, because it will serve beyond borders. So that's all from my side. I thank you, all of you, and I'm open for all questions and answers related to this talk. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mustafa. Initially, I thought you had forgotten about the demo that was so important, and then you came on to the demo. You are a Zoom expert, I know, and we have used you in previous sessions for explaining all those things that you were telling us about, and they're very important. I've been looking through the chat, and there is undoubtedly, clearly a lot of confusion about a lot of things. There was noise issues, there was this picture quality issues, there were technical issues. What is going to be in the classroom? Are we going to have those? And I think Sarvan is going to talk to some of those issues, but just to say that we are right now, smart podiums, let me repeat, and smart boards alone without additional fittings will not be able to do the task that we want it to do. And IT and Shahid Samson, who is working on it, are looking into how to make the smart podium and smart closed classes work well for us. Number 2 point that I think that comes across is that your own laptop and a multimedia is the ideal way with minimal resources to work. Ideal in the sense that you will have to prune it in terms of pedagogical fitness. You will not be able to move far away from the laptop. You will not be able to write on the chalkboard. You will not be able to lots of things that you do in person classes. You will be constrained for the sake of online transmission that your laptop will do over any platform that you prefer, right? So, and I see that in the chat, people are saying that we do not have a personal laptop. And I think that is a point that we are looking at, because we are recommending that you have your own personal laptop for various reasons. And one is that you have to, it will make your material available to you there. You don't have to take, use the class smart podium system. If you have your laptop, you have your new sessions prepared already, and you carry it from class to class. But more importantly, you will have to update it for sound and for quality, visual quality. And usually I see that we do not get the updates, and they are much needed at this time if you haven't had them. But those of you that don't have it, and I was seeing it in the thing, I think the VR office is looking into how to support faculty who do not have laptops or multimedia. So those are two things that their VR office and ITS is trying to provide to ensure that they are there. So over to Sarvan, and there are some queries And I will go through them while Sarwan is talking, and we'll see if there are any that need to be answered. Very good jobs, Mustafa.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Hello, everyone. Can you all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, myself and Mustafa, we kind of divided our sharing of knowledge as to what different kinds of advices we can give you, and try to make this transition as smooth as possible. But as we will see in the coming slides, I will also tell you about the potential issues that we need to be aware of. Okay, so for those of you who don't know me, a quick introduction of myself. So my academic interests, in fact, are in sync with what I did this time. So it's in my professional career also, I do usability evaluation, as in seeing things from the user's perspective. And so let me start already without further ado. Okay, I would start with this image. I wonder if you could see what's written there, because I don't have the original image. It's a picture that I had taken in one of the conferences that I had attended in 2006, many years ago. So it shows a bridge, and these two people, they are thinking that, you know, how can we cut costs further? And if we could remove a piece. And of course, those are the kinds of things we have to point and identify, that we have to make sure that while we are cutting costs, but still things have to be always functional. We cannot go the extra mile and cut an extra buck and then just destroy everything. Okay. Said these two presentations, the one by Dr. Mustafa, who's from the biological sciences, and myself, I teach in the computer science faculty. The idea is to facilitate the faculty by giving them a little head start. And so there are different scenarios that I would like to share with you. And toward the end, I would like to throw in a couple of discussion points. And I had also been reading some of the points, and some of them were very valid in the chat while Mustafa was giving his talk. Okay. And, you know, a slight warning right at the head start, what I've written in my last point, that we must realize beforehand that it's not going to be as smooth as it used to be, and it's not going to be stress-free. There would be lots of stresses, and there would be lots of problems and hiccups, as Dr. Rukhsana was also telling us about. So, in this slide, there are 3 categories that we have been discussing since right from the beginning. We discussed about these yesterday also. So the 3 broad categories of students that we would have, one of them is the in-class or on-campus students. Then there are these off-campus students who are synchronously with us online. And of course, the ones who are unable to make it, and some of them maybe throughout the semester would not be able to make it. And for them, we need to record stuff, right? So in addition to these categories, there are other ways in which we need to see at things. And there are 2 different kinds of other categories that I could come up with. Actually, there were just so many of them, and I tried to simplify them so that we could see what kind of scenarios we have. So from the infrastructural point of view, broadly speaking, although I had initially come up with 5, but we've narrowed it down to 3. So there are these smart classrooms or smartboard classrooms, and ones with smart podiums, which have been installed in the recent months, and which is what me and Mustafa specifically went to look at, and we found out there were other variations also. So there are lots of them. More than 50 of the classrooms have been equipped. In fact, 78 is the number, if I have it correctly. which are equipped with either a smart board, and by smart board we mean a board which is an interactive board which we can go and touch, and it would we can interact with, and we can open up an application, we can write something over it. And there are these other rooms which have smart podiums, which have this small desk with a desktop computer in it with a backup power and everything, and it has a small screen in front of the instructor, and at the same time multimedia projectors are inbuilt into these rooms. So students who are in class can see what's going on onto the whiteboard, but the teacher can interact with the little screen right in front of him or her, and share their thoughts and communicate their ideas. And so that's the thing that Rukhsana had pointed to earlier on, that rightly so, Dr. Mustafa identified that there were no mics attached to those. And so in order for such lectures to be delivered, we needed to capture whatever was being said by the teacher into the mic so that it could be well recorded and then relayed on to the offline students. So after this smart classrooms category, as we are calling it, there's this another category of classrooms which have a fixed overhead multimedia projector fixed into the classroom, and then there's a fixed screen. So one does not need to call in the IT or send them an email that today I would need a multimedia projector, because we now know that now this is going to be a requirement to conduct classes. And finally, I have no idea that how many traditional chalkboard or whiteboard rooms still exist, because we only got a chance to see some of the ones which had smart rooms and classrooms. So over there, that's one point for discussion as to we will see how many equipments are available which can move from here to there, which are mobile equipments. But my guess is that there are still quite a few classes, and that's the one thing we have to look at. But at the same time, as it was rightly pointed out by people at the ITS department, that not everything could be put in place in one go, and then later on, if we realize that this thing worked well or there were problems. So that was probably one of the reasons why they have tried to do as much as possible. And the places where they have installed things, they are in a much better state than they were pre-March. Okay, so there is another kind of variation which also exists, and which what I see in, the way I see it is that there are these theoretical courses in which instructors go and typically wish to write something on the board or scribble something or some formulas, some chemistry formula, or some mathematical formula. Over there, in our view, preparation of slides would be required, which was not really a requirement before, but it's now more or less going to be a requirement, at least the broad things. And then whatever additional thing they wish to write down, maybe using a WordPad or Notepad, or sometimes opening up an MS Paint application and pointing arrows, etc. That would need to be done for it to be seen on the screen and recorded in Zoom. In addition to that, there are these practical courses, and which also could be divided into two kinds of practical courses. And so because I have had much greater experience with teaching practical computer courses, or I have known more faculty who does that. So for example, courses like, computer programming language, which is a new language in its own right. So as some people put it, it's like, trying to teach someone how to learn to drive a new car or drive a car. For that, we typically see that there are no car manuals which people can read, and from next day onward they can start driving a car. But in fact, what we do have is hands-on training which is required for everyone, and everyone of us amongst the faculty must have gone through some practical training before they could move on to the road and drive their cars. So similarly, in computer practical courses, it has to be a very interactive session and which has its own special requirements. And so to give you one example, in order to install a software, we cannot just ask a student to install it, but it requires a special hardware and software. And then when they install it in their own computers, sometimes they say, oh, we have a computer, but it's not a 64-bit computer, or it doesn't have the required RAM in order to install it. And so which is the reason why they all sometimes are required to come to the lab and do hands-on work. So that's the other category. And finally, I thought that science practicals are special in their own right. That so for example, chemistry, biology, or physics labs, they also ought to be done physically. But in the case of computer practical courses, once the installation and the learning part is done, after the first few weeks, then it becomes much more smooth. And once students know how to not make mistakes when they're initially trying out a new language, then things become smooth, and then you can record your lectures. But the initial 4 to 5 weeks, they typically take a lot of interaction. And sometimes in my case, I have I personally pay 1 or 2 good students from the previous semester and ask them to be with me while I'm helping one student out, because at the same time, 30 students may face a problem and everybody may be facing a different kind of problem. So I need multiple hands to help me sort those problems out. So having discussed, I think broadly we have covered the different kinds of variations that we have. And as Dr. Khan said, a huge effort was put in place by FCCU and the Vice Rector's Office for Blended Learning. And about 76 classrooms have now updated facilities. But that kind of also scares me that there are lots of probably other classrooms. Maybe there are not too many, but I have a feeling that maybe there are lots of other classrooms which do not have any of these facilities. So in the first column, I've written smartboard, and the second one is smart podium. OHP stands for overhead projector multimedia screen. So yeah. In order to encourage, there's this other kind of, just give me a minute, I need to maximize my screen. Yeah. So in order to encourage student engagement, there was one other thing that I was thinking of. Why can I not see?
We can see your slide, Sarvan.
Okay. No, I think something just went wrong on my PC and some new application just popped up in front of me. So I'm just trying to. Okay.
It's uploading itself. That's the computer for you. Get used to it.
And so we have to see that these are the kinds of challenges we would be also facing while we are giving classes. And so there are new kinds of challenges that I thought must also be kept in mind other than the technological ones. So for example, in my classes, and I've talked to some other faculty members who say the same thing, that in order to encourage student engagement, typically we have always discouraged usage of phone. Even in my computer classes, I encourage them to use the computers available, but not the cell phone, because once they are engaged into a cell phone, I have no idea what's going on, whether they're using WhatsApp and they are completely transported into a new world, or whether they are currently still with me in the class. And so I've always faced those problems. So I typically ask them to keep their cell phones in their bags while they're attending my classes. However, in the current scenario, maybe it's the exact opposite that we would require of them. We may need to encourage them. And so the usage of cell phones at the students' part may not only be inevitable, but also indispensable, because some of them may not own computers. And they may say that, that's the only way we can connect to the Zoom, etc. So, but at the same time, so that's going to be a big challenge, that ensuring students' engagement and focus. So allowing them to use cell phones while at the same time maintaining, sometimes what we used to have before was eye contact, and here we would lose eye contact. And so how to continue to have them engaged. So that would be one big challenge. I don't have any good answers as to how to get over those. So let me see if I can change my slide, or I'm still okay. So there are some suggestions that I had thought of broadly, and I will go through all but the last point here, and then I would have one or two broad recommendations, and then I will come to the last point on this slide. So some of them may be overlapping with what Dr. Mustafa said. So we have to keep the agenda for the first session very limited, very specific, and very well prepared. And for the first 1 or 2 weeks, we are advised to check into our classrooms. And so, by the way, it would be a good idea to maybe visit the campus beforehand, before you have your actual class, and just see someone else teaching, or even if the class is empty, just go and check out and what facilities you have. I think people have already spoken about this, that it's better to have smaller file sizes. But at the same time, I just noticed in the chat that Dr. Hamida was saying that if we let students log out and then log back again, many of them may not be able to log back again. And so they prefer to carry on with the longer classes. So that's going to be a challenge in its own right. And as some people were saying, that if we have TAs or staff available, but I feel that the staff is too less to be put in each of the classes. So that would be one thing which would have to be looked at. And so in the coming slide, I will also be talking about some recommendations as to the kinds of things we can do at the very minimum. Okay. And of course, we will have to improvise. So before I open the floor for discussion and ask them to speak in person what they want to do. So one of the protocol we can do is we can ask you all, because you cannot unmute your mic, just send in a private message to Suleiman to unmute your mic before you could speak, and maybe even type in your question as to give an idea as to what you're about to talk of, or you can just
or you can also raise your hand, Sir Foster
I forgot. That's a wonderful way of doing that. And in the bottom panel there is an option of raising your hand also. So one or two recommendations that I thought I would give before we move on the floor to the faculty is that, and so we have discussed this amongst ourselves also, and with a lot of encouragement by the IT people, IT staff, and Dr. Roxana, and people all around me who were very, very encouraging. We thought that one of the things we could do and recommend specifically to the VR office is that a faculty member should have the option to ask for a smart class if they feel that the given class is not capable to do things that they would like to do. So we asked if a specific email could be given where this could be done, but this also requires participation from the academic office, because one cannot just ask the ITS to change a room, because it's the academic office which does that. So it requires a coordination between these two departments, and which is why we feel that the VR office is going to be very instrumental in allowing the faculty, and then maybe later on through the Today Buzz or something, we can offer them an email address where they could make such requests. Followed by, during the first week particularly, or the first 2 weeks, now I'm moving on to point 2. We recommend that positive and negative, problematic and positive, both feedbacks could be given. And so the IT has graciously created a new email. So instead of ITS help, which was before, so there's a special email created, which goes ithelp@fccollege.edu.pk. And my recommendation is that we should mention everything rather than just saying, oh, I have some problem here. We should mention in the subject that there's a problem or a suggestion, one of these two. The faculty member's name should come in here, and this should be part of the body, the first few lines within the email that you write. The location and the classroom, so this building and this classroom number, and so on and so forth. And the nature of problem suggestion, you can, of course, explain what the issue was, maybe briefly, and they can get back to you. But also it's important that while one person was facing a problem at one point in time, maybe the other persons were not facing. So we may know that there are times of the day when the internet is not working well, or if the electricity backup is not enough, etc., etc. But sometimes if the problem is persistent within the same classroom, then the IT can also generalize that from morning till afternoon or till early evening, the same problem occurred. So this class does have a problem of a cable, etc. But one suggestion is that better still would be if ITS could somehow provide the faculty members with some place or some link where they could go and log on, let's say through their email and passwords that they already have, or they could be given one just like we were given for the Office 365 thing. And they could just go and punch in their problem. And if it's a forum, then the rest of the faculty can react to it. And that could create good, healthy discussion. And it should only specifically be for the faculty. But the other acceptable solution could be to create a complaint management system, or a CMS, I think, as they call it, in which you could go and check the status that I said that the mic was needed. And so the status is that it's under consideration, it's going to take 2 more days, etc., etc. So you can ask around maybe your faculty members to lend you their personal mics if they have one for 1 day or 2 days, etc. So before I open the floor for discussion, I would especially like to thank all the people whom I came in great frequent contact with, and Suleiman Khairullah, without whom this would not have been possible. Whatever I did, he facilitated our discussions and talks, and not just today's session and yesterday's session, but prior to that, there were lots of discussions that we did. Mohammed Mustafa, I've told him before that his energy is contagious, and we all were energized right after we spoke to him. And I'd never interacted with him before, so it was wonderful interacting with him. Shahid Samson Samuel in particular was very, very helpful. Whenever I asked for him, I could just call him up, and he would provide me info. He would have meetings with me in person and online. And of course, Dr. Rukhsana Zia, we don't need to mention it, because I mean, this would all these talks, all these during the past day and today, they would not have been possible at all. And of course, I know it throughout with the help of Dr. Trimble, of whom I've heard a lot, but we've never had a chance to interact directly. But soon, hopefully, we will be doing that also. So if I was to open the floor, that you feel in the given scenario, what potential problems that you see? So I'm opening the floor to the faculty, what their views are and their concerns are, and maybe we might have overlooked lots of things already. We tried to do as much as we could, and we did that all in the past 7 to 10 days, maybe. So, so apologies already for the things that I might have missed.
Yeah.
And so
thank you so much, Sarvan. Thank you. You did a very detailed suggestion list as well. And there were lots of points coming up in the chat, and I'm very thankful to Mustafa for clarifying them as they came along. I see that there is lots of things that faculty need to know. Lots of people have raised their hands, and I'm going to go there one by one. I see that there is an issue with the technical equipment in the classroom. There needs to be more clarity on the basic equipment each faculty needs to have for their classrooms, and that has to be put up as a basic, a checklist that this is compulsory for every faculty to have. Even so, if we put up a basic, we cannot equip a mic, an additional camera. Lots of things can make it very good, but I am not sure that there is that sort of leeway with ITS and with our budgets. That's another story. What we are trying to do is to give you some options. They will be the minimalist options. We will have to work with them, but we will tell you how to work best with them. And perhaps we can have more sessions with the 2 experts, Sarvan and Mustafa, and of course, Shahid. And we can work out some best options out of a not so good situation. That's all I can say. I'm sure Dr. Trimble will have something to say about it. But in the meantime, I think it's better if we first listen to Dr. Kausar Abdullah, you seem to have, like, I don't like this sort of a look on your face. So can we hear what you have to say before I go on to others?
Okay, thank you, Ruxana, and thank you, Mustafa, for an excellent exposition of Zoom, and also Dr. Sarwan. You see, I can only share, because in spring semester, the whole semester I taught on Zoom. You see, so I have a fairly good experience of the facility. But now the only addition is that it is going to be a blended one. You see, so we have to organize things, and it can be done. You see, I mean, by looking at all the facilities and all that. It can be done, and I think if we all are, as Mustafa also said, that we are in habit of walking around in the class and then giving lectures. Can't that be done if we have a collar mic, you see, or something of the kind, so that at least our voice is recorded? And many people have been asking about how to record. It is recorded automatically. You see, you have a button on your own laptop. Even you look at it now, even you have a option of recording. You see, so you just push that button and everything gets recorded automatically. And I think it has not been told that Zoom automatically downloads that and puts it into your folder. So this is a big advantage, and it is very interactive. Second thing, you see, I have a suggestion, you see, which many of you may not accept, that I have registered myself in Zoom, and I'm paying monthly about 2,000 rupees, you see, and that gives you an unlimited time and unlimited participants, you see, so if one can do that, I think it makes life much easier, you see, so I would suggest that if some of us, or could do that will help. At least if there are 2 or 3 person in the faculty who are doing it, they can share that with others also, so this is one important thing that we should do, you see. And we must ensure that the students should have a laptop. You see, I mean, I totally agree with Sarwan, that with the smartphone activity, that is not, possible. And we must instruct all the students. I don't know how are we going to do it. And it is interesting to even hear that our faculty also says that we do not have a laptop, you see. I don't understand that how they have come up to that stage that they still don't have a laptop, you see, So I think that's not understandable, but still these are the requirements of, even if there was no COVID or anything of the kind, that's having a laptop is a normal thing to do, you see. Anyway, so I think I appreciate both of you. I have learned a lot, or I have refreshed my knowledge as well, and I'm pretty sure that with all our innovations and all that, we will be able to do a successful job for the coming semester. Thank you.
Thank you for the upbeat note, Kausar, but a lot of chat was not that upbeat, and some people will find one thing good and will suggest one thing. Other people will find other things more appropriate for their use and suggest other things. I think we should not go in that debate right now. Pardon me if I am overstepping that domain. What I think we need to right now concentrate is what would be a standard policy across all campus, so we know what is the bare minimum facility for every faculty. Beyond that, what they want to use, your own Zoom account, somebody else wants to use MS Teams or whatever, that we will not go into, but we will limit it to what can be done. And I think we should concentrate our energy, and like Sarwan and Mustafa Mustafa said, that we perhaps each of us do our own style of teaching and requirements of teaching. We need to check out the classrooms, but we will tell you that these are the 3 things, and I think that message will come out from the Vice Rector. These are the 4 things that we are going to provide you, and we will with that also tell you this is what these facilities will help you be able to do with these limitations. And after that, you will have to, find your own space, how it works in the classroom for you with your own platform, with your own tools. I think I'll call in Dr. Trimble in right now to sort of say if we are on the right track thinking like that. And if so, I would suggest instead of taking questions beyond that with suggestions, we could always do a feedback form later after you have a time to check out the classrooms and come back with your suggestions. Otherwise, we will lose the time we have for the faculty retreat now, and it will just focus on one session. So Dr. Trimble, over to you. What do you suggest?
Thank you, Dr. Roxana. These sessions have been very helpful. We are aware of many of these issues, including the issue of laptop availability for faculty. For that one specifically, if faculty can please contact the VRO if they do not have a laptop. I know that we have been able to loan some laptops already, but we need to know faculty who do not have that capability. Dr. Sarwan's recommendations at the end of his presentation were excellent in terms of being able to get some feedback during real early here before the semester and then during the semester as well in terms of technical issues that our faculty are being faced. In terms of some of the other equipment such as collar mics and Zoom accounts, we will have to talk about that and get back to the faculty in terms of the availability of those sorts of resources. We need to find out how many classrooms do not have the multimedia availability. I think that we have that. If we don't have that information already, we will get that. And the process for faculty to get a multimedia in those classrooms when they need that. And so we are actively working with the Anthony Richards and his team. And this is a collaborative effort that's required by all. And so I do want to thank you very much for Dr. Mustafa and Dr. Sarwan. These have been most helpful in terms of the feedback. The issue in terms of sound, that is a real issue for the remote students that we need to look into. Dr. Gloria, is there anything else that would be helpful to add at this point as the Associate Vice Rector?
Thank you. Actually, already we have communicated to the faculty that it would be difficult for us to provide individual Zoom accounts to each and every faculty because that is very expensive. But regarding mics and laptops, I have taken a note of that. And for laptops, I'm already aware that some of the faculty members have borrowed them. And again, as you said, if there is a need, please feel free to contact us and we will try our best to facilitate you. That's it.